Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I'm working on a couple of fall bouquets. So I wasn't sure if I should do another video on flower bouquet making, but I thought, you know, since it's fall, I would go ahead and do some with some fall marigolds, what's left of my cosmos, and some sunflowers, and of course some zinnias. And surprisingly, I still do have some snapdragons. So thanks for joining me today, and I hope you enjoy this video. So I already started this one mason jar with some marigolds. I always start with my filler flowers because they sort of create a base instead of using chicken wire or a frog. They just, all this branching and foliage kind of gives me a base to work with. And just so you get the idea here, the marigolds, these are crackerjack marigolds. They come in really long stems like this. And, you know, some of the flowers are open, some are just blooms, but I like the fact that there's a combination of blooms and buds. So I've trimmed off a lot of the length, but I'm using the multi-branching as a base. Here's one there. And I just trimmed off some of those extra branches. Here's an example of some of the cosmos that I've cut back a lot of the not so great blooms. And here's a perfect example of a really large branch. You probably can't see all of it, but I do have these in my kitchen garden, and Greg's really happy that I'm cutting back a lot, I'm sure, because he says that they always take over our tomato plants. So I had planned to use these and grow them for my daughter's bouquet, but as I mentioned in previous videos, that didn't work out. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of these marigolds for my fall themed bouquets. So here's a cosmo. I was really sad today. I was out there in the garden and I got out probably a little later than I'd like to. There was a little bit of shade, but boy, was it hot. So as I've been doing in the last few days that I've been back in the garden, I've been working as early in the morning as I can, and then I work up, you know, a lot of energy, and then I come inside, take my shower, feel clean again, and today I thought I'm going to do some arrangements. I'm not sure whether or not the garden market in Sycamore wants any more arrangements for the summer, but I've messaged Barb and we'll see if she wants them. If not, we have a neighborhood party to go to, so I certainly want to bring a bouquet. So look at the size of that one. I'm going to clear some of this so it's not such a disaster. I like this one here. Let's put this in the middle because the vase is different. The marigolds have a pretty, I don't know, pungent, if you will, smell that may or may not bother people. I grow them primarily to, these are looking a little bit dry. I grow them primarily to keep pests away from my tomatoes and my plants in the kitchen garden, but they've also really surprised me in the last couple of years that I've been growing them about how prolific they are, and they're so wonderful to have these colors, these bright yellows and oranges, into the late summer, fall. So I'm liking this sort of wide. Should maybe work on one so that we don't get too, yeah. This one is quite tall. I'm going to go ahead and trim it down here so that we've got some of this branching all the way around. I went ahead and filled the vase and the mason jar with room temperature water. This one's really floppy. And I did put a little pouch of my flower food already. So I do have a second flush of feverfew in the garden, which I'm really thrilled about. I'm definitely growing this again next year. I was able to get a package of seeds. I think I got them from Botanical Interests. Everything in my cut flower garden is grown from seed. And I'm pretty proud of that because it's only my second year growing flowers from seed. And my seeds of choice come from Johnny's, rareseeds.com, Baker Creek. And this year I decided to order more from Botanical Interests. I've actually received my orders for next spring and summer's cut flowers, so I'm pretty excited about that. I just ordered some coleus and violas and pansies from Rare Seeds today, and the reason I went ahead and ordered them early is because I'm noticing some of my favorite varieties are not available and I don't want to take a chance. So for example, the Colossia Rose coleus that I have in my front porch, that I was a little bit, it wasn't that easy to grow, but I loved it so much. It's in my bowl on my front porch. Anyway, they were sold out of it. So I went ahead and tried 2 different other varieties. That's really tall. So I just find it kind of efficient to do a couple arrangements at a time because when one flower works for one, it may not work for another vase. So I find it's just more efficient to do it this way. There's a lot of greenery in this one, which might be problematic, but we'll see. You can always cut back. So here's an example of a really large. So I don't really love this variety of branching, so I'm going to go ahead and trim it. I was saying I had to pull out quite a few of my Cosmo plants. They have gotten very brown. Whoops, that's too bad. Very brown and dry. So, but I've had a really long summer with them. Very, very productive plant. Next year I'm going to grow afternoon white, fizzy white, or was it fizzy white, cupcake blush, and I just ordered apricot. Apricota, I think it's called, from Rare Seeds, and the others are from Johnny's. The afternoon white, fizzy white, cupcake blush are from Johnny's. I'm not sure if I'm doing 3 or 4, but anyway, it'll be my 3rd year next year growing cut flowers, so I feel like I've learned which varieties work for me. I definitely have tried to reduce my assortment varieties of cut flowers just because of space. But to be honest, every time there's a sale, like there was with Botanical Interests, I went ahead and tried some new varieties of cut flowers that I've never tried before. You know, it's not too much risk when a package of seeds is only a couple dollars. I mean, even, cheaper than the ones at the big box stores. Some people ask, is there a difference between um, your seeds that you buy at the big box stores? I think I have a friend that says she doesn't, it's not that big a difference. Well, I have found a difference. There's definitely a lot less seeds in the ones that you get at the big box stores. It's deceiving. I think it's Ferris and Mouse, I think, one of them. Anyway, they come across affordable, inexpensive, but you have to check the count of seeds, number of seeds per package. And the other thing is, a lot of the seeds that you get in from the big box stores, the varieties aren't really ideal for cut flowers. I find they're shorter varieties, like zinnias, for example, which are more suitable for bedding plants versus cut flowers. So that's the difference that I found. Um, I've definitely had luck with sunflowers from the big box stores, especially when the birds are eating most of them anyway. So this year, sunflowers, I started them all indoors. So look at that snapdragon. Like, wow. Still strong and sturdy. That is Potomac yellow. Wow, really tall. I'm cutting it back. I'm going to leave that greenery just for more greenery. I'm wondering if the scent on marigolds starts to, as only as one bud. Huh. Don't know if I need this. Let's see if we need this for greenery. Cosmos and marigolds are great cut flowers for foliage. There's probably some of this getting cut off, but I'll zoom in on all of it at the end so you get a good look. I did buy myself a Lazy Susan, but because I do 2 or 3 at a time, I often don't use it unless I'm just doing one arrangement for at home on the table. So when I'm doing my bouquets for sale, I tend not to use it because I'm doing 2 or 3 at a time. It'd be awesome if I had a giant Lazy Susan. So Cosmos, I consider my filler flower. I always use these. I build with these at the beginning of my bouquet. Today I started with the marigolds and then added in Cosmos. This could very well be my last bouquets that I'll be selling for the season, just because soon I'll be working on cutting everything back and prepping my cut flower beds for tulip bulbs. I placed a nice big order from Color Blends, and I'm going to be planting at least 4 of the 6 raised beds with tulips for the spring, and I'm hoping I'm going to find us a used refrigerator for the garage. This one's got, yeah, and then I can pick my tulips nice and early and then refrigerate them, and they will have a longer life, because it's not as though I'm selling, you know, many bouquets at a time. But Barb mentioned maybe getting some pre-orders, so that would be great. So I'm just trying something new next year. I want to take advantage of the spring season. I found, and I think many flower farmers find, or flower growers find, that summer is a slower time for selling flowers, cut flowers. And I think it's because, many gardeners have their own flowers. Marigold allergies. Many have, bless you, many gardeners have their own flowers, and then lots of people are away on vacation for the summer, but it's back to school now, so maybe we'll be able to get a couple sales. We'll see, because I sell at a local garden market nursery, and of course she's got mostly sales on, so people are not really looking for cut flowers per se, but we'll see. That's why I think this will be probably my last. Look at that teddy bear. There's 2 on there, and there's probably another bud that would have been coming up, but gosh, just beautiful. Oh. It is very tall, too tall. It's going to be hard to transport this. So a lot of the Cosmos are doing this. Weak stems. So sadly, I think we're just going to cut that where that weak stem is, and maybe just throw it in here to fill up a hole at the base of the vase. There's always room for something like that. Whew, look at that. Look at that sunflower. Another one I'm going to put here as my feature flower. Definitely, when you have marigolds and sunflowers in the same arrangement, you can really just get away with one sunflower, because the colors just pick up on. I'm going to keep cutting on this. It's really tall. Let's live with that for a little while. I just picked 3 sunflowers today. I'm really happy with this grouping of teddy bear sunflowers, and I know I had said previously that I wasn't going to I haven't placed orders for sunflowers for next year, but I can certainly change my mind. And I'm really leaning towards this variety of teddy bear. I need to find out which they are, because I've grew them before, not as successful as this bunch. They've been growing low to the ground as well as up high, so I'm letting them just kind of grow on their own. And I'm getting multiple blooms on one branch. So, and I haven't, started cutting on them. I think I cut one teddy bear the other day or I guess I cut 3 stems. I'm looking right at them on my kitchen table. So let's get this one a little bit lower. Funny thing is, when I was in Toronto a few weeks ago, I went to the farmer's market with my daughters and I bought them each a bouquet of teddy bear sunflowers because I know how difficult they are to grow. They can be. So I couldn't bring them any from home, so I got them and they loved them. And I always like to support local growers for sure. Wow, look at that. It's just so in your face. Look at that. Okay. And some amaranth. And when there's little bug damage on a leaf, like that, I cut it out. When I'm out in the garden, I do try to pick at least 3 of a given flower. Either I'm going to put 3 in one arrangement for balance, or I'm going to use, in this case of amaranth, I'm going to use 1 in each arrangement. And that's really all you need for amaranth. You really only need one branch. This one is so low, and it might bloom, this guy. So I'm just going to put him in the middle, or upright. Straw flowers are just doing in full bloom now. Some of them are drying up a little bit, but they were a nice surprise. Late flowering cut flower, but really great. I don't think I put any in here. The reason I super tall. Super tall. And not needing it to be that tall. There we go. There it is there. So the reason I pull off a lot of leaves is the foliage, the leaves always tend to be the first, in most cases, tend to be the first to wilt and dry up in the arrangement. So I try to limit some of the foliage because it tends to, if it's the type of foliage that tends to wilt and dry up quicker, it just sort of ages your arrangement too quickly. This one's probably too long, but we will adjust it after. by using just one branch, this stalk is the only branch that's going to get water to hydrate all of these. So I can tell they're quite long. I'm going to go ahead and trim that off so they have multiple, at least 2 branches to collect water, like that. I'm checking to make sure there are no damaged flowers on this one. I have cut back quite a few of them. No foliage that is going to sit in water. Look at this. Can you see that? It's a double. Can you see that? It's a double flower. Wow. Really unique. Take a look at those snapdragons. This is Potomac lavender. I talk about it all the time. She is the most impressive, prolific snapdragon. If you grow one snapdragon, one variety, one color, I would suggest Potomac lavender. It just won't quit. Just won't quit. Yellow's really good too, but I find that the lavender is the one that just keeps coming up for me 4 and 5 times. And sturdy. Sturdy she is. And even though it's a fall bouquet, there are these deep sort of burgundy touches of plum in the middle of the bloom, and then lighter lavender on the outside, so it picks up on the amaranth really nicely. Let's use this last amaranth. There's 2 in there, huge one in there. Let's put another one here. Yeah, that's a nice balance. also let me know which one was your favorite. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.